The screen of my laptop illuminated my face as I stared at the email thread. My sister Rachel's cheery, "Save the date," followed by 23 replies from every branch of the family. My name was nowhere in the conversation, not in the recipient list, not in the discussion of sleeping arrangements, not even in my mother's meticulous meal planning spreadsheet. The muscles in my jaw tightened as I scrolled through detailed plans for the annual Wilson family reunion at our Cape Cod beach house. The same beach house where I'd spent childhood summers feeling like a shadow. 3 generations of Wilsons planning 5 days together, and I'd learned about it only because my cousin had accidentally included me in her reply all about gluten-free options. My phone buzzed on my desk. Mom. The screen showed her smiling face, a photo I'd taken last Christmas when I'd flown cross-country, hoping things might be different. I answered, pressing the phone to my ear, my voice carefully neutral. "Hi, Mom." "Emily, honey." Her voice had that particular tone, falsely bright with underlying tension. I was just calling about the reunion next month. My fingers tightened around my pen until I felt the plastic crack. 6 years running, always the same conversation, always after I'd discovered their plans through some oversight. "I saw the email thread," I said, the words tasting bitter. "Everyone's quite excited." A pause. Then, period. "Oh, well, I was actually calling because there's just no room this year, sweetheart. Your sister's kids need the space, and your brother's bringing his new girlfriend, and you know how small the place is." The pen snapped completely in my hand, blue ink spreading across my palm like a bruise. "My name is Emily, I'm 32 and a corporate strategist. This is the story of how I turned exclusion into ownership. In my Manhattan office, the skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows, a daily reminder of how far I'd come from that Cape Cod kitchen. At 10 years old, I'd stand by the sink watching through the window as Rachel learned to sail with Dad, or as Matthew, barely 7, captivated neighbors with his precocious charm. "Emily, sweetheart, those napkins won't fold themselves," Mom would call, barely glancing at the sketchbook where I'd drawn the shoreline with careful precision. "Those doodles won't get you anywhere," she'd said once, not even looking at them. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica, my best friend since college. "Bet you $20 your mom called with the same excuse by noon." I smiled ruefully and typed back, "Too late, just happened. You win." "You okay?" Michael appeared at my office door, his expression concerned. "You've got that look." I straightened in my chair, quickly wiping the ink from my palm with a tissue. "Just family nonsense. Nothing new." He nodded, understanding without pressing. "Well, the Daniels merger documents are ready whenever you are." I nodded, grateful for the redirect. Work was my sanctuary where I wasn't invisible, where I was chief strategy officer at 32, the youngest in company history. As Michael left, I turned back to my laptop, minimizing the family email thread and opening the merger files. But something had changed inside me. A sudden clarity crystallized where resignation had lived for years. I opened a new browser tab and clicked on a bookmark I'd been revisiting for weeks, a real estate listing for the Cape Cod beach house now drowning in debt. Missed payments, tax liens, a second mortgage. Information I'd been quietly tracking through my industry connections in banking since I'd overheard Dad talking about refinancing during my Christmas visit. My family had no idea their precious gathering place was weeks away from foreclosure. They certainly didn't know I'd established a corporate shell company specifically for this purpose, leveraging the legal team from the Daniels merger to handle the paperwork discreetly. I hovered the cursor over the Submit Offer button, heart pounding in my chest. This wasn't just about a house. It was about every memory they'd excluded me from, every achievement they'd overlooked, every time they'd made me feel small. My finger clicked the mouse. 3 weeks later, I held the keys in my hand, standing alone in the empty living room of the beach house. Sunlight streamed through windows that needed cleaning, illuminating walls that needed painting and floors that needed refinishing. The place was falling apart, just like the family myth that had kept me seeking their approval for so long. I ran my fingers along the kitchen counter where I'd once stood folding those napkins. This wasn't revenge, I told myself. This was reclamation. My phone rang, Jessica calling to check in. I did it. I said when I answered, my voice echoing in the empty house. The house? You actually bought it? Her excitement was palpable even through the phone. Just finalized this morning. It needs work, but it's mine. Emily Wilson, you magnificent creature, she laughed. What's your plan? I walked to the back deck, looking out at the ocean. I'm not sure yet. Part of me wants to tell them immediately. Watch their faces when they realize. Another part wants to wait until they show up for the reunion and find me standing in the doorway. The second one, Jessica said without hesitation. Definitely the second one. I smiled, picturing the scene. It's not about revenge, I said, though a small part of me wondered if that was entirely true. Of course not, Jessica replied, not believing me for a second. It's about justice, and maybe a little karma. As I hung up, a notification appeared on my phone, a calendar reminder for the Daniels merger presentation next week, the biggest deal of my career. Perfect timing. Success was my best revenge, and I was about to close a career-defining acquisition. For the next month, I poured myself into 2 projects, the merger and the house renovation. I hired contractors to repair the rotting deck, replace the leaking roof, and update the ancient wiring. I ordered new furniture, repainted every room, and installed a state-of-the-art kitchen. By the time the reunion date approached, the transformation was complete, both the house's and my own. I arrived a day early, setting up my laptop on the new quartz countertop, fielding final calls about the merger that had just closed successfully. The house smelled of fresh paint and new beginnings. I'd already packed for London, my promotion confirmed, the international division mine to lead. The sound of cars on the gravel driveway came earlier than expected. Through the kitchen window, I watched my family emerge. Mom clutching her purse, Rachel herding her children, Matthew helping his new girlfriend with their luggage. They hadn't noticed my Tesla parked in the garage. I opened the front door before they could use their keys, standing in the doorway as their faces registered first confusion, then shock. "Welcome to my house," I said, the words sliding off my tongue with quiet satisfaction. Mom's hand flew to her throat. "Emily? What are you doing here?" I stepped aside, gesturing them in. "Coffee's fresh. Come in." They shuffled into the kitchen, eyes darting around at the renovations, the new appliances, the obvious changes. "What do you mean, your house?" Rachel asked, her voice tight. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. This place was about to be foreclosed. Rotting deck, leaking roof, wiring that was one storm away from disaster. I kept my voice calm, matter of fact. I fixed it, bought it 2 months ago. Matthew dropped his duffel bag. "That's impossible. How could you afford it?" I finished for him, arching an eyebrow. I listed my assets like a grocery list. My Manhattan penthouse, my investment portfolio, my Tesla. Work, Matthew. You should try it sometime. Mom sank into a chair, speechless. Dad, who had just walked in with groceries, froze in the doorway. "Your house?" he asked, voice barely audible. I took the bags from him, unpacking them with deliberate ease. "Yes, and I'm hosting this reunion my way." The air thickened with their shock as I walked them through what I'd done. $60,000 in critical repairs, another $100,000 in upgrades, and the $450,000 purchase price that was well below market value due to the foreclosure status. "Where was your family pride when the bank called?" I asked, my eyes locking on Mom's. She couldn't hold my gaze. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the one begging for their attention. I was the one in control. "You're all still welcome to stay," I continued, "but there are new house rules. And afterward, I'll be moving to London to head our international division." That evening, I took them to dinner at the Four Seasons in Boston. I'd booked private dining weeks ago, arranged gourmet catering, and opened the bar tab, orchestrating every detail to show them the world I'd built without them. Jessica had driven separately to meet us there, helping coordinate with the staff while I brought my family. Rachel's children darted around the marble lobby while Matthew fumbled with his borrowed tie, clearly out of place in the formal setting. My parents looked small against the opulence, their casual vacation clothes a stark contrast to my tailored suit. At dinner, Mom barely touched her plate. "This is cruel, Emily," she said quietly. I raised an eyebrow, leaning back in my chair. "Cruel? Treating you to luxury is cruel?" I gestured to the opulent room. "This is what I can do now. Imagine what you missed." Matthew's girlfriend whistled at the spread, but Mom's eyes were wet. "We were wrong," she whispered. "Is that what you want to hear?" I leaned forward, my voice steady. "I want you to feel what it's like to be left out. My college graduation you skipped for Matthew's game. My MBA honors you never acknowledged. Every milestone you ignored led to this." David, my mentor, arrived to join us, shaking hands with my parents. I'd invited him specifically to witness this moment, texting him the details after we'd finalized the merger. "Emily's exceptional," he said, his pride evident. "She's leading our European acquisition from London next month." He raised his glass. "To the youngest division head in company history." Mom's face paled, the weight of my success finally hitting her. Dad stared at his hands, unable to meet my eyes. Later, on the hotel balcony, Mom fidgeted with her coffee cup, the Boston skyline sparkling behind her. "I didn't know you were so accomplished," she said, her voice breaking. I set down my phone where I'd been answering emails about the London move. "You never asked, Mom. You thought I'd fail after I chose business over law." She flinched. "We wanted stability for you, like Rachel's career." I laughed sharply. "Rachel's law practice that never happened? Or Matthew's startups you kept bailing out?" Jessica joined us, her presence a quiet support. "Mrs. Wilson," she said coolly, "I spent holidays with Emily while you were at Rachel's. Remember?" Mom looked away, embarrassed. "We weren't terrible," she whispered. "You were indifferent," I replied, "which was worse." She nodded, her throat working. "You're right. But now we see you because you're successful. That's not fixing things, is it? That's just us realizing we were wrong." Dad appeared, sitting heavily beside Mom. "The house, Emily," he said. "It's done, paid for, renovated. You didn't have to." I smiled tightly. I did it for me. Back at the beach house the next morning, I packed for London, the ocean breeze drifting through the open windows. Mom stood in my bedroom doorway holding a small wooden box. "I found this in our attic," she said, opening it to reveal newspaper clippings of my achievements, high school honor roll certificates, even a sketchbook from my childhood. "I kept everything, Emily. I was scared." Scared? I touched the sketchbook, my fingers tracing the faded drawings of waves and shorelines. Of what? "That you'd outshine us all," she admitted, tears falling. "You broke free from our small-town life. I didn't." Jessica squeezed my arm, staying silent but present. Rachel and Matthew arrived, looking uncertain. Matthew held an envelope. "Investment ideas for the house," he said. "Not for you, for us." Rachel spoke up. "I'm taking a sabbatical, Emily. I want to visit you in London, really know you." Matthew added, a period. "I'm starting business courses. Will you mentor me?" I looked at them, my family finally seeing me. "Pretty words," I said, "but actions speak louder." I wasn't forgiving them. Not yet. Mom pulled a key from her box, the old front door key. "We don't expect forgiveness," she said, "but maybe we can build something new." I took the key, its weight heavy with possibility. "I'm still angry," I admitted, "and I'm still going to London." "We know," they said together. Dad stepped forward. "We messed up, but we want to try." I nodded, cautious but open. "Reunions will alternate here and London. You'll learn my world, business etiquette, everything." Rachel laughed through tears. "Mandarin too?" "If you're lucky," I smirked. For the first time, I saw hope in their eyes, not regret. I was ready to soar with or without them. The morning sun bathed the beach house in gold as I zipped my suitcase for London. My phone buzzed, David confirming my car to the airport. "The Daniels merger is officially closed. London's yours." I smiled, picturing my new office overlooking the Thames. Jessica hugged me goodbye. They'll never know what hit them. As I walked to the car, my family followed, not chasing, but walking beside me. The house stood proud behind us, no longer a symbol of exclusion, but a bridge to something new. "Don't waste this chance," I told them, sliding into the car. Mom's eyes met mine. "We won't," she promised. I believed her, just a little.